This is the High School Football America podcast for July the 2nd, 2020. I'm Jeff Fisher. The High School Football America podcast is brought to you by GameStrat, America's premier sideline instant replay system with outstanding reliability and faster speed than Huddle. Plus, GameStrat has awesome customer service along with different plans priced right for every coach's budget. And right now, GameStrat is extending its offer for discounts of up to $200, which means it's cheaper than Huddle Sideline, plus GameStrat is making it risk-free. If you make the switch now and there isn't a 2020 season, your money will roll right into 2021. That means there's no risk, and you can't beat that, but you have to act by the end of the July 4th holiday. To get a demo, go to GameStrat or click on the GameStrat banner ad located on every page of highschoolfootballamerica.com. Heading to the state of New Jersey. Longtime listeners of High School Football America's radio show and podcast know that I grew up on the Delaware River in eastern Pennsylvania, and that gave me the really great opportunity to not only cover Pennsylvania football, but New Jersey football. As one of my very first games as a broadcaster was in Phillipsburg, New Jersey, the winningest high school football program in the state of New Jersey. A lot of great football being played there, and over the last couple of days, you've been seeing it on the website, lots of states starting to make decisions on the 2020 high school football season as it relates to COVID. Arizona, Tennessee have made the official move to delay the start of the seasons. But before all that happened, New Jersey was kind of in the lead, canceling, unfortunately, week 0. And right now we have John Jacobs, the commissioner of the New Jersey Football Coaches Association, one of the top associations in the country, on the line to talk about that decision. We're also going to talk some good football here from the Garden State because I love it. There are lots of talent has come out of the Garden State through the years, and coaches on the line here to talk about COVID and promote the state of football in the Garden State. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Yeah, let's kind of dive into the here and now. As I said last weekend, you guys made the announcement that week 0 is now gone. You're going a week later, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of things that take place between now and the next time you make an announcement. But let's kind of just start with that. What kind of led to the decision to this early make the decision not to play week 0 and push everything back a week as far as opening camps and that?
Yeah, I think I think it was done out of necessity. The NJSCA had put together 2 task force. One is a sports advisory task force to deal with COVID, and then the other one is actually like a COVID advisory task force. And there's a lot of really smart people, a lot of really well-versed people on both of those committees. I don't think it was a decision that they took lightly, but I think certainly one that was necessary, given that it appeared that a lot of school districts weren't necessarily all sort of aligned in their, vision of what the summer was going to look like with regards to high school athletics. So, with facilities and preparation for teams to be there, for players to be there on the facilities, on the school grounds. You got to remember, schools haven't, housed students since, March. So,
right.
Like I said, while I think, they certainly wish they didn't have to, I do think it was a necessity. And I think all those factors coming out of different, schools from different regions of the state, sort of not being able to be aligned, which is understandable, sort of led to that decision.
Sure.
And I think, like you said, I think that we're going to have to be flexible moving forward. Our executive director has been transparent with the state in clearly stating, through memos and through communications that, hey, this is going to be fluid and our season's not going to look the way that we would expect it to. And, we're probably going to expect more changes along the road.
Yeah, and safety is first. That is the first and foremost thing for all of our kids and our coaches, obviously. John Jacobs on the line, the New Jersey Football Coaches Association. Obviously, you guys have a major role to play in this. And tell me a little bit about and I've heard this from the other coaches that are on the line, right? Coaches are people that work within systems anyway, right? From practices into games and all that. Tell me a little bit about the role of the association in helping coaches, figure out this system, which obviously, as I've been joking throughout these conversations over the last couple of months, there's no, handbook that goes to the coach, right? When you take over the HC position, they don't say, well, if you have COVID, here's what you do. So what's kind of your role you're taking with the coaches to make them know, in addition to communication from the state athletic association, all that, how to kind of get this together and get their program to the point where it's able to move forward whenever this next step comes along?
Well, it's funny you say that, because this Monday actually is we've been running weekly clinics. Our association been running weekly clinics, and they've been a real valuable resource for our association. Member coaches from our association, we have a wealth of not, you referenced the talent in our state of players, and I assure you that the coaching talent is commensurate to the player talent in our state. So we kind of draw on the wisdom of our own membership to sort of lean on each other for these kind of situations. So we created a platform where coaches can exchange dialogue. Monday we're actually going to have a session where coaches going to come in. We're going to have a few coaches that are actually going to present some of their thoughts on planning. These phase one, as we're calling them, phase one workouts, which are going to be challenging to execute because there's a lot of stringent protocol that's been put in place. So we decided to sort of kind of in lieu of a clinic this week. We've been doing like standard football clinics. We've done some panel discussions. This week we're actually going to have coaches sort of create, we're going to create a small panel of coaches that are going to hopefully open up dialogue to the whole state. So we kind of have an idea of exchanging thoughts on how we're going to run practices, how this person's running practices. We're going to try to get a multitude of different size schools so that, smaller group one schools can hear what smaller, because with every school size is going to bring different challenges. Mm-hmm. So, that's one way that we're looking to sort of lean on each other to get through these times. And more from an overall standpoint, where we kind of fit into the puzzle of this landscape of New Jersey, high school athletics with football in particular is, we've built a pretty good relationship with all the decision makers, and that's kind of offered us kind of earned us a seat at the table with regards to being able to, give our input, with regards to policy, legislation, and even situations like this. We feel very welcomed by the NJSAA and by various athletic directors who represent the leadership of the conferences around the state. So that sort of gives a broad picture of kind of how we function as an organization.
Sure. And I know when we talked yesterday offline, we were kind of, joking about how there's the follow the leader mentality when it comes to certain things in sports to begin with. And I know you've been watching around the country what's happening. I mentioned at the top, Arizona and Tennessee have already delayed. You guys have knocked off week 0. Texas last night suggested that, because of the July 4th holiday, stop summer workouts. This morning I read South Carolina's governor said, unless something changes, there's nothing that's going to happen. And then I saw the governing body there has instituted penalties to try and even the playing field to make sure there's no illegal practices and all that. So I lead that all up into the question of, and we know the coaching fraternity is good at borrowing, right? Whether it's system schemes, all that sort of stuff. How much are you paying attention to what's going on around the country, and are you having any conversations, outside of the Garden State, seeing what people are doing good, bad, and all that to kind of implement that into what you guys want to support and push on to the state organizations? Yeah,
we've been lucky. Myself and a couple of members of our executive committee of the NJFCA, we've been fortunate enough to be a part of the alliance. So we have a national alliance that basically represents every football state association, and there's been they've done Rob Younger. He's out in Oregon. He does a real good job of sort of mobilizing all the head leadership of state associations to have like these benchmark meetings. We actually have one today at 4:00, and everyone sort of gives a state of the state and sort of exchanges exactly what you said. Do some in classic coach fashion. A lot of borrowing from each other, and we kind of look to hear how they're collaborating with their state associations. We kind of give them input on how we're doing ours, and that's been a really good platform for creativity. So hopefully, today I'm sure we're going to get some more news. I have friends that coach in other states, so I kind of try to reach out to them. I know Louisiana's having a little bit of an uptick in the virus as well, and then there was I believe that recent announcement from the governor in Michigan, making a request for football to go to the spring. So, we'll see. Hopefully, maybe maybe we'll get some new insight this afternoon. But it seems to be a constant holding pattern at this point.
Yeah, and then there was some good news yesterday. I'm a glass half full guy, and I thought the announcement. And I live in Georgia, as you know. The Georgia High School Association is actually going in the opposite direction, I think, of the majority, where they are going to allow some one-on-one drills, maybe some 7-on-7. That's after the dead period here after July 4th, and maybe this is asking you more of a personal opinion, but when you see that, does that give you hope? And where is it? Are you a half full guy or a half empty guy when it comes to that? And I'll let you take it from the personal standpoint and the New Jersey Football Coaches Association guy standpoint.
On a personal standpoint, I am. I'll be a half full guy until they tell us we can't get on the field. So. Mm-hmm. We're just trying to maintain a positive outlook with every inch they give us. So certainly that's my personal standpoint on that. And yes, it is encouraging when I hear about other states kind of progressing forward. I think it does give you a little bit of hope. With regards to our stance in the NJFCA, I think that again, I think our organization sort of has a similar stance.
Right.
Obviously, we're coaches. We're eager, and our coaches are eager. They want to get with their players. They want to get with their coaches for a lot of reasons. And they're not selfish reasons. A lot of them are just motivated by our concern over the kids being away from unstructured environments for so long. That's the thrust of the conversations that I have with most of the coaches is, we're concerned about our kids. It's quite a longest period of time that a lot of these kids have been isolated from kind of these, structured environments with coaches and players. Yeah, sure, they may be with, pockets of kids here and there, but as well as anybody, there's nothing that can replace the chemistry that's developed with an entire team and a coaching staff. So, while it's encouraging, we kind of still keep longing for, more steps of progress forward. But I think by the same token, we understand the need for adaptability with something this unknown.
Yeah, and I had a conversation with Gary Silvestri. Gary's a New Yorker by heart and where he grew up, and he's the AD down here in Milton, Georgia. Very good program. And one of the things that he taught that I brought up to him and he brought out, and I'd like to kind of pose this to you because I just don't think this is getting talked about enough. And again, everything is prefaced with safety first for the kids, and everything's there, right? But I think there's a conversation that's not being had all that much, at least in the media, which is if you flip-flop football, let's just say, to the spring, or you cancel it, there is a long-range, long-reaching effect, right, on the economic side, not the academic side. It's obviously there too, but on the economic side, because football drives so much of high school athletics, from gate receipts and all the other things that go along with it. What's the chit chat there in New Jersey about that? I mean, is that something that's first and foremost right behind making sure everybody's safe?
To be honest with you, it's not, and I know this just from sort of having a pretty, as the years go on and you coach for so many years. you do some traveling and play some out-of-state games and get to know coaches in other states. And it's funny, you know, you're down south, so that will resonate with more people in other regions of the country, where I'm well aware that gate sales become a real prominent component of finance for schools. And it's not as prevalent in a place like New Jersey, number one. It's not. You'd be surprised. You know, like we've had, you know, I'm aware that other states, and this is something I learned years ago, you know, other states that, you know, if there's a percentage of gates that sometimes are given to teams that are agreed upon contracts to play each other. That's something that really doesn't happen much in our area. So, no, it's not really as prevalent. Obviously, it's extremely prevalent in the collegiate landscape. You know,
sure,
yeah. And listen, it's a serious thing. You know, I think discussing that doesn't mean that you don't care about the health and safety of people. I just think it's part of the discussion. I think it's inevitable when you're talking about, you know, that volume of money, that volume of finance that, like you said, you know, really dramatically impacts so many other facets of a school.
Yeah.
So,
well, all high school sports
up
is
here
important.
in New Jersey, I can't say it's really been you know, a strong part of the narrative.
Yeah, well, and that's why we have these shows, because it gives everybody around the nation an opportunity to hear what's going on in various states. We're talking with John Jacobs, Commissioner of New Jersey Football Coaches Association, and let's kind of flip out of all the COVID talk here and promote the sport there in the state, which, as you heard me say at the beginning, I respected tremendously. I grew up, you know, with the great coaches at Phillipsburg, Bob Stem, Phil Rahm, Bruce Smith, still my friend, you know, to this day. It's a state that I love, and I'm old enough to remember that you know, everybody used to complain in New Jersey that football was leaving Jersey and going and playing in Happy Valley, but you got a coach there at Rutgers right now that's pretty darn good, and I'm sure I've seen some articles where you've commented on that. You're a big supporter of Greg Schiano coming back to Rutgers. Talk a little bit about you know, football in the state in general right now on the high school level. Like you said, you've got a large swath of size because of some of the big urban areas and all that. But where would you put as you put on your Chamber of Commerce hat, if you will, ambassador hat, New Jersey high school football at this point in general?
I think, listen, I think college coaches all over the country that come here to recruit would attest that for a state our size, you know, as small as we are, you know, geographically, although we're densely populated, you know, I think that, you know, our football is second to none. You know, obviously that the culturally, football probably is a little more prevalent in other states. You know, I think that if you're looking at it objectively, mm-hmm. you know, I think it's fair to say that, you know, and you know, some other states it's a little bit more, you know, high school football particularly is ingrained in the fabric of the culture in a lot of places. Not that I would say it's not a strong part of our identity here in New Jersey. It's just the Northeast just tends to be a little bit different. There's just, you know, culturally there's just more going on. So, I would, you know, you're surrounded by New York. You're surrounded by, you know, it's an entertainment fashion type capital of the world. So there's some, you know, other areas of culture that get a lot of attention, but it certainly gets its fair amount. But as far as the football itself goes, I think most coaches around the country that come here and recruit our players would say that our players are, you know, our elite players are as good as anywhere's elite players.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that our coaches are proud of that. I think our players know that, and I do think our football community feels the same way.
Yeah, and one of the questions I always get from people that know I'm a PA Jersey guy is, what the heck's up with not having a state championship? I know you're kind of crawling toward that true New Jersey state championship, but people want to know, how can you call a sectional championship a state championship? So I'll let the guy that's part of the New Jersey Football Coaches Association define that. I usually do a pretty good job, but for the people around the country that want to know what you guys do there and what you're working toward, can you give that a shot?
Well, I mean, to answer your first question, you call it a state championship because that's all they give you. If that's the last game they give you on the schedule, they kind of given teams no choice for a lot of years. So that's kind of, I guess the best way to answer that is, I guess it would be unfair to not give kids the opportunity to be titled the state championship if you're literally ending their season and telling them that's the last game they could play.
Yeah.
So while philosophically I agree with you, and I think most coaches do, for a lot of years it was just kind of based on past practice and probably more an issue of our calendar and a reluctance to disrupt the football calendar, because of the fact that, you have some other variables like winter athletics following it and the lack of desire to disrupt that season any further with an extended week. We moved on to the regional games, which, like you said, and you're one step away basically from an overall state championship. And my guess, there's going to be a vote. It was actually supposed to take place, but COVID held it off. The NJSA will hold a membership vote. I would assume somewhere in the fall when they can fit it in. I know that right now that's not, obviously not one of their top priorities, understandably so, where they're going to vote again to amend the Constitution to allow football to play to a group champion. Hopefully it hasn't passed yet. Hopefully this time we feel pretty good that it's gained some traction, and we will. And then from there, we've made it clear, the language in that proposal. I know the NJSA has made it clear to their membership that the actual vehicle or mechanism that would be used to arrive at that champion would not be enacted without, a membership vote, which is something kind of unique this time around. And I think that that'll be one of the factors that will, I think give us a good chance to have it be voted in.
Yeah.
So,
interesting.
we're hoping.
Look forward to that vote. And, I think that's a good dovetail into one of my favorite things that I talk about on the podcast here and write about on the website every year is Turkey Day football, Thanksgiving football. As you can imagine, I grew up on Easton Phillipsburg. I still go back when I visit Mom at Thanksgiving and check out that game. I love Turkey Day football. I think it's a great thing. It's a Northeast thing, right? And, certainly that comes into play when you're talking about adding games or a week or whatever it may be, but it seems like the numbers have dropped through the years, at least in Jersey. I still think it's as big maybe in the New England states like Connecticut and Massachusetts, but what do you feel about the going away of Turkey Day games? I mean, are you a tradition guy? Are you like, let's move on, that was then and this is now, and maybe give people around the country, instead of my voice just always bragging about the importance of Turkey Day football, how you feel about it?
Well, I'll give you two perspectives. First of all, from the association's perspective, when we had dialogue, when we were asked to give our input regarding, the potential of playing a group champion. And obviously, I feel strongly that I think one of the first areas that you have to address is Thanksgiving if you're going to talk about a group champion. So it's appropriate that you bring this up following the discussion about, working to an overall champ, because I failed to mention earlier that one of the other caveats is that we wouldn't even consider a plan that would place Thanksgiving teams in a compromising situation. In other words, any model that we propose or any model that we work on, the first consideration will be that our Thanksgiving teams aren't placed in a compromise where they would have to choose between a Thanksgiving Day game or a playoff game. And having been looking at this for so many years and being around so many smart people, there's absolutely ways that can get done, number one. To answer it on a personal level, ironically, I grew up in one of the longest running Thanksgiving Day games. So as a kid, it did mean a lot to me. I did enjoy it. It was a Roselle Park-Roselle game. And then for a couple of years, they took off, and then now they're back up and running again. So, I see the personal attachment that people have to it, and I see the value of it to communities. So from that standpoint, I fully support the notion of protecting the sanctity of those games. As a coach, I'd be lying if I say, I'm not crazy about it as a coach. At this point in my life, but listen, I understand the value of it, and certainly believe in protecting the tradition. You're on the money. It has the number of Thanksgiving Day games do seem to be decreasing as the years go on. We've had a couple of long-standing games decide to abort those Thanksgiving Day games, and they're playing them on like a different week.
Yep.
So, and then some people say, oh, the rivalry's still there, and then other people still are traditionalists, and they feel like, we kind of lost that feel. There's a difference. Kids are coming home from college. Better than anybody. I've been to two of those Phillipsburg Easton games. After seeing that, I tell a lot of people, after going to that game, and I truly mean this, it changes your perspective on Thanksgiving Day games.
Yeah.
I think anybody who doubts the value of those games should attend at least one Phillipsburg Easton game. So there's your plug for the day.
and as the Jersey guy, you put P-Burg first, which is always the big debate in our community. It's usually Easton, Phillipsburg.
I have to.
I love it. I love it, John. No, and so do I. And let's dovetail. And by the way, we're talking with John Jacobs, New Jersey Football Coaches Association commissioner there. I mentioned some of the great Phillipsburg coaching names, and I've come to become good friends with guys that are now on Greg Schiano's staff, Nunzio Campanile and Augie Hoffman. And I just wanted to, bring this up because, and again, whenever I say this, I know people will give me some crap and, say I'm slighting other states. I think the profession in general is incredible. It never gets enough compliments. People don't understand what high school football coaches go through. It's no longer a 4-month-a-year job like it used to be when I was a kid back in the 70s and all that. I mean, there's pressure from fans and all that. But I just wanted to let you talk a little bit about New Jersey coaches because, like we said, the players are great. There's no doubt about that. Maybe, a little different state to state, but you guys have some good ones there. Tell us a little bit about the profession and how you guys work so hard to make sure that you guys have quality guys that are taking care of the student athletes.
I think it just, I think it's just kind of carried on from just a long, steeped tradition in our state. And I think, so much has to do with just so many innovators throughout different generations in New Jersey high school football, from North Jersey to Central Jersey to South Jersey. Guys my age in their 40s can reference so many iconic coaches that they remember as a kid. And then the guys from those generations could they'll recall these iconic coaches that were a generation above them. And I think it was such a willingness to collaborate. If you grew up in certain areas in the state, you remember, you kind of ran an offense that basically came off of this coaching tree or a defense that came off of this coaching tree. And you would have whole counties of teams, utilizing the same kind of, teaching techniques and numbering systems and call systems, because guys were so collaborative and they were so willing to, share their knowledge with other coaches regionally. So I think, I think what we were the real beneficiaries of a lot of just iconic coaches, all the way back from the 60s, 50s, and 60s, who passed their knowledge down onto guys that, then later on into the 80s and 90s, and then sort of leads us to where we are today. And I feel really good that this generation of coaches is willing to provide that same level of mentorship to guys coming up. So
yeah,
I think it's a real prideful tradition, based on a lot of sharing of ideas.
And then just to wrap things up, I touched on it earlier. I know you were vocal about whether or not Schiano should come to Rutgers and all that, and you obviously have him. And to kind of make the umbilical cord connection there, how important it is to have a guy like Greg Schiano at your state university at Rutgers as it relates to high school football. I think it's a good thing. I'm just curious what you feel about how you feel about it.
It's a great thing. And obviously, a lot of us, including myself, know Greg personally, have a pre-existing relationship with him. Aside of how I feel about him personally, speaking objectively, it was just extremely important for us to get him back because of how this state operates. I think it's hard pressed to find somebody to come in here who doesn't really understand, doesn't have a good, background of working knowledge about how this state operates when it comes to high school football. Although it's such a small state, very densely populated, there's some regionally. We're a very regionally diverse state, and how things are approached with regards to education in one corner of the state, tend to be very different than other areas of the state, and sort of the challenges that one area of the state experiences is a lot different than others, and then you have. There's a lot of football schools for such a small state. You're talking about 340 schools, I think, that we have that play football. To understand the inner workings of how our youth programs work, how our conference leadership works, and sort of being able to connect with Jersey football coaches, Jersey athletic directors, Jersey administrators. I think it takes a real unique working knowledge that you're hard pressed to get without having some level of experience here.
Yeah.
Greg, to many of us, and that's why I felt comfortable making those statements to the media. Back when we were going through those issues, when we were transitioning from Coach Ash, because we really felt strongly that we kind of had one chance to get this right, and. This was our chance, and Greg's requests. I think when we looked at them, reasonably, everyone saw, they were not unreasonable for the amount of work, that doing a job like this entails. So we certainly needed him back. He understands New Jersey football. He understands the landscape of New Jersey football. He's an outstanding recruiter. You're talking two of the best football minds in the history of the sport, hired him. Bill Belichick and Urban Meyer hired him, and speak emphatically on his ability to coach football and his ability to recruit and connect with people. So, that's why we feel really good about him being back here.
Well, he did it one time before, no doubt that he can do it again. Coach, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to let the listeners around the nation know what's going on in New Jersey, whether it's COVID or beyond. And just one quick, you don't have to make a long answer this here on this question, but where are you right now? You're a half full guy, but I mean, what do you think, very succinctly, the 2020 high school football season may look like in New Jersey?
Very simply, I think like a lot of other states. I think, first, I'm still a half-full guy. Like I told you, I will be until they tell us they can't play. But just to echo the sentiments of our executive director, and I think leadership around all states, I think that we will work towards having a football season. I think we all have to be clear that it's going to look very different than it ever has in the past.
Yep. Well, Coach, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it, and wish you nothing but good things in New Jersey this year. So thanks for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
The High School Football America podcast is brought to you by the great new app Small Player, Big Play, an age-appropriate, sports-focused social media platform that's designed to showcase and connect young athletes, their parents, coaches, and friends. On Small Player, Big Play, young athletes get the ability to utilize the app and share interest and accomplishments on a very safe and highly secure social media platform. And this is some great stuff. It's featuring live streaming with game day highlight clips. And here's the one I like: lucrative fundraising opportunities for your school and your team. Download the Small Player Big Play app on Google Play and the Apple App Store. I'm Jeff Fisher, and you've been listening to the High School Football America podcast.